Welcome to another episode of the Speak the Language podcast. We have a full house today in the Primos headquarters. We got Troy, the infamous Jimmy Primos himself, and Jordan Blissett. And here's what we're going to do. I know Jordan knows about this, but Troy and Jimmy, y'all may not know about this yet. We started this new thing. We did a podcast. We've done two of them now. We called them Embarrassment. And what we did is we told all these stories of like funny stuff that happened within us that never made it to a show. Either a camera wasn't running or whatever. But what we spun that into is we asked listeners to send in stuff that had happened to them. And we didn't really put boundaries on it. We've had fishing stories, hunting stories, whatever. But what we do is we get them to send them in. Usually do it at the beginning of the episode and we kind of read over it, kind of get the reaction out of everybody. Got some pretty funny ones. So I'm going to read one right now that just got sent in last week, and I'm just going to read straight what he sent. It's a pretty good story. So this is from Christopher Speck. He said, "Love your podcast, catching up on your YouTube channel. Keep up the awesome work." Thanks for that, Chris. Okay. A couple of years ago, my father and I were hunting on a 2,000-acre piece of public land in western Maryland, so northeasterner. For the last couple of years, we've been chasing a big 10-point that we've dubbed the name Swamp Donkey. We got out there about 5 a.m., took a couple-mile walk into our spot, and settled down. Come about noon, we hadn't seen anything, so I get up to use the facilities. I go find a nice tree, take off my coat and bibs, and set about doing my business. As soon as I assume the position, pants around my ankles, everything breaks loose. Couple of shots go off down the ridge, and I just panic. I jump up, run towards a tree that I thought I left my gun at, and I think, oh, I need my coat for Blaze Orange because he doesn't want to he's on public land. I understand that. So he runs to go get his orange, turn around, run back, put his orange on, runs back to the tree. Turns out he was at the wrong tree, no gun. So he's spinning around in circles looking for his gun, wide-eyed like a crazy person. Finally finds the right tree, sprint over to get his gun, get to the edge of the ridge, and there goes his buck trotting along out of the shooting lane. To this day, he says he still has dreams about that deer, and to this day, his father still cracks jokes on him.
Who was shooting at the deer?
I imagine it being public land if somebody didn't know.
I thought I was waiting to hear like his dad killed the deer.
No.
Or something like that.
They just said they'd been after this one for like 5 years, and then
That's how it happens.
nature calls upon him. He starts hearing shots go off.
That's some bad timing right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well.
Funny story riffing off of that. My dad was doing that same thing one time, and he had a couple pigs run up on him while he was in lock.
Where was he at?
He was in Mississippi. Yeah.
I was just, while you were talking about that, I was thinking about a story. It had nothing to do with going to the bathroom and everything, but when I was still living down in South Louisiana, hunting alligators for a living, I had put this 9.5-footer in a boat, shot him, put him in the boat, and was doing some stuff in the back of the boat. And, you know, alligators are like snakes. They'll move a little bit after you shoot them or whatever, and I heard just like a hide going across the bottom of the floor, and I turned around and looked, and this alligator standing up looking at me. And I commenced to stepping down off the back of the deck to go to the front to get him, and he commenced to walking towards me. And my gun was behind him. Well, I finally got to the gun, and then I'm thinking I can't shoot him in the boat. Lo and behold, the alligator finally winds up getting out of the boat, and I wound up killing him, but it wasn't nobody with me, but it was pretty funny because by the time he got out of the boat, everything that was in the boat, he had already knocked out of the boat.
Oh,
You know, what I like about Chris's story, though, it's I think we all can relate to it, but it was so easy in my mind to visualize exactly what he was talking about, you know.
That's what. Or does that mean you've had this happen before?
Not exactly, but I'm sure we've all had similar where we get caught.
Wilbur says you have a phonographic memory or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's what's made this whole thing kind of fun since we've had folks sending stories in. Is more often sometimes we get like a crazy one, which is still funny, but a lot of times it's very relatable things. Like I think when was it, Jordan? A few weeks ago, that guy sent in a story. got a morning off of work, wanted to go fishing, and he wrapped his line around a sunken tree stump, and right when he went to go get it, a bunch of wasps shot out of the stump, and he had to bail off in the water.
You know, we could probably fill up a whole year worth of podcasts with stuff that's happened to you over the years, Lake. Especially your first year.
Yeah, we talked about that on that first podcast where Lake launched this idea.
Yeah.
And it was pretty. Yeah. I could think of one thing. I don't know if I mentioned this. I know I mentioned it in that first podcast when I was working over at Mossy Oak with Cuz, and we had that part of our television show called Homemade Videos, where people would send us stuff. And one video that reminds me of what this story you just told, there was a guy in a tree, I think it was in South Carolina, and he was sitting in a tree on the edge of a dirt road, and this logger comes driving by, pulls up, goes about 5 yards past, and gets out the truck, and you can tell that cramp must have hit him like right then and there. This guy bails out of his truck with a roll of toilet paper in his hand and runs like 10 yards from this guy. I never saw him in a tree. And just zips them pants down and goes about doing his business, zips his pants back up and leave. And the guy videoed the whole thing and sent us to it. We used it. It was hilarious. It was so funny. And I thought to myself, I said, I wonder if this guy that did, not the guy that videoed it, but the other guy, the logger, I wonder if he ever saw that footage and realized, holy smokes.
That was me.
So I right then and there, and that was well before trail cameras, I thought, dang, that's a heck of a surveillance camera right there, that fella sitting up in that tree.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Needless to say, he didn't kill anything.
No, yeah, I don't think poor Chris did either that day. And in his story, he never says if they got the buck they named Swamp Donkey or not. So, you know, I don't, honey, you know, maybe get him. Maybe not.
Swamp Donkey got the last laugh.
But either way, Christopher Speck, thanks for sending that in. That was a pretty good laugh. And y'all continue to send them in. You can send them in to the Instagram page or to primosHuntingPodcast@gmail.com. So on to today's subject of discussion. This is a fun episode, or I think it's going to be a fun episode. So and Jimmy's kind of as per usual, you're kind of the centerpiece of the discussion.
Thank you.
So when this podcast comes out, you know, we always release on Monday, and like we said in past episodes, we've got new shows airing on Outdoor Channel every week now. And so when this comes out on Monday, the next day, Tuesday, is when one of our first airings is of that week, and that will be the show about. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That was your first ever attempt at archery hunting an elk?
Yeah, absolutely my first. You know, I've hunted all these years, but I usually did the rifle, muzzleloader hunts. So this is my first bow hunt for elk.
So what I want to do, because that's such as usual, you know.
At 73 and a half years old.
At 73 and a half years old, I want to. Because when Troy and Slade got finished working on that episode, you know, as we always do, we go in there and we watch it, and it's such a cool episode. It really is. There for a bunch of different dynamics, but I want to add on to that Outdoor Channel show. I wanted to have an in-depth discussion with you about it and just talk about your experience from start to finish, and you. Making the decision I'm going to bow hunt an elk at 73 and a half years old.
Well, you know, it was a hunt that will stay in my memory till the day I die. You know, I've been on many hunts over the years, but that was something special.
So how did all, remind me, I'm sure y'all know if Jimmy or Jordan or Troy, how did all that get started, you know? I mean, because I
actually went to Jimmy. As Jimmy always says, I don't know why y'all don't take me. I could do that. And for years we've kind of tossed it around, but I thought it over very deep, and got to thinking about several places on that ranch that we hunt in New Mexico, where we could get Jimmy to an elk or in.
Yeah.
And knowing that we're not after the biggest bull in the mountain, although he had some encounters with some giant bulls. But anyway, knowing Jimmy. And knowing that area like we know it, I felt like we could pull it off with the team that we have.
Now, Troy, let me say this. Get Jimmy to. I can get to any place on that ranch, but I just can't get there as fast as some of y'all.
Well, yeah, that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key of getting in there. And we've hunted that ranch for so many years and understanding and learning the elk on that ranch and knowing what they do.
This podcast is brought to you by OnX Hunt. The OnX Hunt app is something that we do not go to the woods without, truly. It's something that we use every single day. You've already heard Jordan mention it from the Iowa trip. He was talking about checking the topo maps. We've talked about before how important topography is. We use the topo maps on OnX all the time, and that's just one of the features. There's property lines. If you hear a turkey gobbling, you don't know where he's at. Is he across the property line? Is he on you? You have the ability to drop and save waypoints if you want to mark where you saw a turkey, if you want to mark where you found turkey sign, if you want to mark a roost tree. If you're trying to send a buddy to a spot, you can drop a waypoint and share a waypoint to them. There's so many features. I mean, there really is. Waypoints, topo lines, offline maps. If you're hunting somewhere where you don't have service, you can save the map. It's called an offline map, and you can use it even if you have cell phone service or not. There's limitless amounts of things from the OnX Hunt app. So check it out today, the OnX Hunt app. Use the promo code PRIMOS20 to save 20% your OnX Hunt membership.
But it was different this past year.
But
it was real dry.
Anyway, the idea came up.
Why you cut me off?
Because that's how I do it. Wilbur's not here, so somebody's got to cut people off. So
that's just rude.
The idea came up, and y'all called me and said, "Do you think you could do a bow hunt, at the Oho?" And I said, "Heck yeah, no problem, no problem." I've bow hunted for years. I taught Will how to use a bow, but I'm not. I figured this out. I hunt with a bow. I bow hunt.
Yeah.
But I'm not a bow hunter. I've been to Africa twice with a bow. I've been to Canada, shot bears with a bow. You've been on several hunts with a bow, that we videoed. And Troy's been on hunts with me where, he shows me missing a lot of deer or whatever with my bow. But so I've bow hunted for years. But, man, bow hunting elk is something I've never done. I always wanted to try it. So this is like a dream come true for me.
Yeah, well, that was like kind of my perception too. As you put it perfectly, you hunt with a bow. You're not a bow hunter because it's no secret you're very much into guns.
Love guns, yeah.
Like
yeah.
one of the first like hunting rifle podcast we ever did was me and you, because we were having all these questions come around November when a lot of rifle season starts coming in, and I was like, well, there's no better person to talk to about rifle hunting than Jimmy. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, that now you've got the range, your store over there, it's a gun store. I mean, that's you. That's what you're centered around. You're a gun guy.
But bow season comes in so early, usually around the 1st of October. Gun season doesn't start till almost the end of November or middle of November, whatever. So, just being in the woods, having that opportunity to go in there and hunt, it was just something I've always done. But, just ask me if I had a choice of what weapon to use, it'd be a gun anytime.
So, if we get out there, we make the grand trip to New Mexico as we've done many times.
What kind of preparation did you put forth towards this, Jimbo?
A lot, Troy. I shot my bow every morning and every afternoon for 3 months. As soon as I knew I was going on this trip, Matthew's bow, 30, 40 yards, I was no problem. Yeah.
Did you have did you put a cap on yourself as far as yardage goes? Did you say, all right, I'm not shooting past this distance?
Yeah, 40 yards is what I'm comfortable with. I mean, worst thing in the world that could happen with a bow is if you make a bad shot and you wound that big beautiful bull and can't find him. That's so I put a 40-yard minimum on there. There were some things I wish I'd done different. Number one, the poundage on my bow. I've always shot 61, 62 pounds, pull weight on my bow, and am comfortable with that. But I found out pretty quick that wouldn't work for me with an elk. I couldn't hold that bow back as long as I needed to. You see a bull coming towards you, and you got to pick a chance to pull that bow back and hold it to wait for the right opportunity to let go. And I had 2 or 3 bulls that I had pulled back on, and just couldn't hold it back. Started shaking, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, our team, they've made elk hunting bow hunting elk look so easy. It really, I was a victim of our own videos.
Yeah.
You know, you standing there, you got your bow, you know, and the big bull comes up. 5, you know, Jordan shot one on this hunt. What, at 5 yards, Jordan?
I think it was 2 yards.
Yeah. Well, you know, and then we just made it look so easy. There were so many things. I don't know how many elk I've killed over the year with a rifle, muzzle, or whatever, but I had a lot to learn about bow hunting elk, a lot.
Yeah.
And this was really a team hunt for me. Y'all carried this old man. Just you know, y'all were so patient and everything with me. And it really made the hunt so much more special for me. And I know there were times. I know one time Troy was videoing behind me. Will was literally hanging on my shoulder, whispering in my ear what to do, and had this nice 6x6 bull coming wide open, and you know, I'm standing there, and I think he got within probably 6 yards of me.
Yeah.
And I'd been holding back for so long, I just couldn't hold it any longer. You know, my it was cold or cool, and my shoulders, my muscles cramped up, and I just couldn't control it. And the arrow dropped right in front of the bull. You know, at 5 or 6 yards. It was that was to me, that was my lowest point on that entire hunt
of the whole trip.
Yeah, and it was not that I didn't shoot the bull; it was that I let y'all down. That you know, we hunt so hard, and it's so hard to do what we do on video. People have no idea, but I let y'all down, and I think that was as low as I felt in a very long time. But y'all rallied around me. You made me feel so much better after all that happened. I think I was ready to quit right then. But,
well, I think, you know, in contrast, I think really, because we show that encounter that you're talking about. I think that's part of what makes that episode as special as it is, because several times, like you said, it can come across on video that it looks easy, but a lot of times it's just because, you know, we're in, you know, time constraints, and you don't get to see all the mishaps that happen.
22 minutes of total airtime.
Yeah.
To take I mean, honestly, we could have done an hour and a half episode on Jimmy's total trip.
Yeah, and
easily.
I'm so happy. Like, that whole episode is just about your hunt, but it makes it real, because that's what I mean. There's guys that they're not at 73 and a half years old. They're guys that are just getting started in elk hunting. They've been doing it for a while, that hit these same kind of struggles, and that's what makes it real. And even though I know I can speak for everybody on this team, no one felt let down when that was happening to you, but I know, because in a similar situation, I know why you could feel that way, and it makes it difficult to overcome. You can get in your head real quick, or at least I know I can. You're probably a lot more mentally strong than me.
We've all been in that situation where when we're hunting, like if I'm hunting, Troy's hunting, Lake's hunting, and we have a screw up on our end, you feel bad for the whole team because there's so much preparation and time is put into it and effort, and you're like, crap, it all fell apart because of something I did.
Oh,
That's
man,
right.
The first bow tag that I got, I don't remember how long it took me to kill one. In retrospect, it probably wasn't very long, but I was so in my head. I was going, there's guys hunting behind me. I'm holding everyone up. I got to make this happen. It's all you're thinking about is, I got to do this. I got to do this for everyone else. And I can imagine, especially, you know, that had to have been difficult for you.
Oh, yeah, the pressure that you put on yourself, the pressure that the team puts itself on. Everybody thinks it's fun and games, and you know how easy it is to do what we do, but there's no telling. I remember one bull, I don't know if it got on the show, but we called him in, and it was pretty thick where we called him, trees and everything, and the bull stopped. His head was behind a big tree. I could see the ear. He could see his ears. I could see his horns. Try not to look at his horns, and I was at full draw, waiting for him. All he had to do, and he was like 10 yards. All he had to do was step out behind that tree.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sitting there bugling in our faces. And I said, oh, it's fixing to happen. It's fixing to happen.
Yeah.
And I moved my toe. I shuffled my toe about 1 inch.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick my foot up. I didn't move my whole foot. I just kind of pivoted my toe 1 inch. It brushed against something, and immediately I saw that bull's ears zero in on where I was.
Yeah.
And he just turned around and walked
The
away.
amazing thing about that bull is when you watch him after he hears your foot shuffle, is to watch him just back up in his footprint, in his steps. He doesn't turn until he backs up like a horse, just like a car, backing up, and then he turns and walks off.
Yeah.
And that's something I never thought about in bow hunting elk. You know, that it was that they were that tuned in to what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure he was looking for that other elk or cow or bull right there that was right, where we were calling from. But it's tough. I said, man, this ain't gonna be easy.
Yeah, I'm sure that had to have been from all those years of hunting with a firearm, a gun, that there was a lot of things like that were just things you had to acclimate to.
Yeah.
As far as like when you can move and just stuff that you can probably get away with a lot more as comparison to a bow.
Oh yeah.
There's a whole lot of smaller details involved in archery hunting just because they're so close.
Well, it's just like the bull you killed, Jordan. I mean, that joker was walking straight to you.
Yeah.
And the bull that Jimmy talked about earlier, I felt like was going to do the same thing. What you can't see on that hunt is where Jimmy, myself, and Will are standing. Jordan's behind us 150 yards, calling 100 yards down the hill, and we're standing in a blowdown.
Mm-hmm.
And the bull is coming right at Jimmy. Well, he's either going to go left or right. No matter which way he goes, right when Jimmy, which Jimmy couldn't hold it any longer, but right when Jimmy lets down, if you notice, the bull was going to turn to the bull's left, which would have put the bull at about 2 feet in front of Jimmy if he could have held out. And all he had to do was just let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing. There would have been nothing. The only way he would have missed if he'd have pointed it straight in the air. That's the God's honest truth. Yeah. And that bull had one choice to go either way, and either way, Jimmy was going to get a 6-foot shot.
Yeah.
And same thing with Jordan. Had the same shot. The bull's walking right to him, and Jordan set up in a spot where he was behind a tree, and the bull had to go left or right. And luckily, the bull decided to go to the right, and Jordan gets a 3-yard shot. And that doesn't happen on accident.
No.
Those kind of situations.
Yeah.
You pick that spot, and you pick that tree, and that spot we picked with Jimmy was for that. But the only problem was Jimmy had to draw a lot earlier than he normally would.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jimmy made the comment in the episode when we sat him down about how he draws his bow. Jimmy tends to, with that extra poundage, and like he said, being a little bit older now, he kind of holds his bow up in the air and then draws it coming down. And as Jimmy found out, you can't do that. No. They pick you out in a heartbeat.
Yeah. What I liked about it is, there's that whole element of, overcoming these struggles and figuring out, I can get away with this, I can't get away with this, this is working, this is not working, is when a lot of this went down, a lot of what you obviously saw and you saw Will, it's comical actually. There's like some of those clips from the small camera. Will looks like a parrot sitting on your shoulder. Yeah. I mean, he's like right on top of you.
Well, after about 3 days, we were walking off from one of the encounters, and Jimmy pulls me aside. He says, "Everything's working out great. I can do this. Get Wilbur off my shoulder."
I mean, he was literally on my shoulder. Sometimes when I'd pull back, he would block my arm coming back with the bow. It's funny.
Was he just so keyed up trying to help you, trying to make it happen?
Oh yeah. Just how Wilbur is.
Yeah.
But it was so fun.
Yeah. But I loved I told Troy, like, honestly, my favorite part of that entire episode probably, because it just shows kind of the attitude behind it all, is after one of those close calls that doesn't work out. You can obviously see a little bit of disappointment in your face, but you're lifted up pretty quickly because Troy's there, talking behind the camera. Will's there talking to you. I think Jordan and Slade walk up, and no one's disappointed. Everyone's just
That's awesome. That was a fun encounter. We're going to make this happen. This is great. We're getting closer. Every day we're getting closer. That attitude, from what I could see, looking at it from the outside in, it never faded. Everyone never doubted, like, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah.
We'll make this happen.
Yeah, y'all lifted me up, but y'all did. Yeah.
So let's talk about the actual, when you shot the bull. Let's go to that hunt. How did all that start? There were
some changes in between that too. Remember?
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Well, you go talk. Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, no, Jimmy talks about it. Jimmy finally realized that there were some things he had to do, and we had mentioned it earlier, but none of us want to say I have to turn my bow down, because that's not right. I mean, that's like Jimmy said on camera. It's it's the old Marine in me. You don't tell me I can't do something or I got to do something different. And we're all like that. I shoot 71 pounds. Well, good, but you don't need that.
Yeah.
You might do it on a whitetail, but you ain't gonna do it on a whelp.
Yeah, they make 90-pound limbs these days.
Yeah.
There's some folks doing that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
Lord.
unnecessary.
But
that with me. That's why I shoot 60-something pounds, so I can pull back to straight back.
Yeah.
And once we turned my bow down to 55 pounds,
yeah,
it was a whole new ball game.
You
for
can
me.
see it in the footage, clear as day.
Yeah, I could pull straight back.
And if you
I
look
could
at
hold it.
The funny thing about the 55 pounds is, even though he's shooting 55 pounds, if you watch the footage of him shooting the block target, those arrows are burying as far, if not as far, maybe a half-inch less, tops, into that target. Kinetic energy's still there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't even have
it.
to change my sights.
No.
It's my zero. My sights stayed the same.
Yeah, I can remember I was interviewing T-Bone. This has been 2 years ago, and he was talking about some archery stuff, and I can't remember but he told me something to do with like the how fast the bow shoots. But it's like something outrageous. You have to get above a certain mark before you can tell any difference between your 20, 30, and 40-yard pin.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, to your point. I mean, and it ended up. Do you think you would have been able to make it happen had y'all not made that adjustment?
No. As it turned out, I shot my bull. What was it? 98 yards.
198.
That limit went out the window real quick. Didn't it?
198 yards.
Actually, I think it was 38 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ready to let that arrow go. And it turned out I shot the top of his heart out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cool thing is you was able to hold that bow back a lot longer.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those.
The first time he stopped, you didn't have a shot.
No.
You had to wait.
No, and it was one of those times there were elk everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we got right in the middle of a elk parade, and they were just running past, and cows screaming, bulls screaming, and all that. And I had to wait for that elk to clear some big trees.
Yeah.
And he stopped just for a minute, and I shot, and then boy, I tell you, he run off, and it was and then we had to wait because we saw a lot of blood, but we weren't really sure how well he was hit.
Yeah.
And that wait, that was tough.
Wilbur and Slade could see the bull after you hit him better than you and I could. You and I lost him pretty quick.
Yeah.
In the viewfinder, to me, it looked like you hit him right at the elbow, and it was hard to tell even when we would rewind it. But Wilbur assured us when he walked up, he said, "I walked up there and there is blood everywhere." So,
how did you feel about it initially?
At the shot.
Yeah. Before any of that, at the shot, how'd you feel?
Well, I felt good, but when you make that shot and you don't see the animal fall, there's always that doubt in your mind.
Yeah.
There's always that doubt, and there's always that apprehension. I had to lay down on the ground and try to go to sleep. I just was so keyed up, so nervous. Was it a good shot? Am I gonna find that? We're gonna find that bull. It's just I curled up on the ground and tried to sleep to get it out of my mind.
Yeah.
I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
So much emotion.
Yeah.
So much.
There's so many days of y'all trying, day in and day out, and just so many close encounters like we talked about, and then all of it comes to a head at that one release of that arrow, and then Like we've all been there. You can watch a shot be dang near perfect, and the animal run off, and there's still a little part in your mind going, I hope we find him. You know what I mean? And we've all been there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen there've been times people have made perfect shots with a bow, where the arrow hit, and never find that bull.
Yeah.
There's that I don't know, we talk about it sometimes, that little zone in a bull's vital area that if you put an arrow in there, you'll never find it, and the bull will live.
Yeah.
But they're also, it's amazing to me, they're also one of those animals that you would think, as big as they are, tough as they are, I mean, how many of them we get to watch fall over dead on camera?
Yeah.
Because they don't know you're there, and that's all based on setups that we do to be able to get that bull in there. He has no idea what happened.
I was like yours last year. We saw him fall down. Brad's, we saw him fall down.
There's certain spots. It seems like if you hit them kind of in a higher part of the lung, unless it's thick, you're gonna watch them fall. From what I've seen.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, like, it was a few years ago, I filmed Wilbur shoot one, and we watched him fall, but that's because we were in a lot more open stuff. He probably went close to 100 yards, but we could see 100 yards. The way your bull went, you couldn't have kept up with him that far.
Yeah. Well, you think of the scenario that you're portraying for them to envision. They're coming to, i.e., maybe a lost cow or cows, and they're coming to another bull that's in their area. And when that hits them, their initial reaction is, I got blindsided by something. And they'll run 25, 30 yards, and we're all calling back to them, and they'll stop and usually look back and go, what was that? And that's usually where they wind up falling dead right there.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge part of the reason why we a lot of times see the elk fall after the shoot is the calling after the shot.
Yeah. Especially if the elk comes in chilled out and never gets keyed up at anything, Yeah,
because he's expecting to go another 100 yards to see the elk that he should be seeing, and then he gets shortchanged.
Yeah.
And it's like, what was that?
Yeah. The ones that I've seen where they maybe kind of get like, I'm not sure what's going on here, those can sometimes go a little bit farther. But
and I've seen them suckers shot with a gun, and know Jimmy has too. They hear that big bang, and they run until they can't run no more. They don't quit running.
Yeah, they don't feel like stopping. Yeah.
But the way Jimmy shoots them, they just fall right there.
Yeah, they're just
pow, boom.
Okay, so you lay down, try to go to sleep, try to get your mind off of it a little bit.
Try to chill out.
How long did y'all wait before going to look?
It was Troy, an hour and a half.
Wilbur had already walked up there and saw where he last saw him. Will walked up there and saw all the blood, and then just eased in there real slow, and he got within 30, 40 yards of the bull and saw him laying there. He had his head up, wasn't moving, but had his head up. Now, whether his head was just leaning up against a tree or not, we don't know that. And Will just backed out. So he came and told us about it. So we sat there and ate a little lunch and discussed what we were going to do. And an hour and a half later, he shot him like at 11 something, and we found him at 2:15, I think.
And there was so much blood in the trail. It was not a problem trailing that bull up. So.
Yeah, when we gutted him, it was right. That big rage, it went in. The blades went in horizontal instead of vertical.
Yeah.
And when it did that, it cut the very top bottom of the heart, if that makes any sense. So in other words, the heart lays in an animal on an angle like this, and it cut it right across the top of the heart at the bottom. Yeah. And I really don't. If I remember correctly, when we started gutting him, there wasn't hardly any blood left in him.
No, but that's one case where prayer came through for me. boy, I was saying my prayers. Please, Lord, please.
You prayed that arrow into the heart.
The prayer started the second the release went off. Please, 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 please. How did that? I'm sure this is a. But how did that feel? Like really, like when you walk up and you realize that it's done. It's.
That was not a big bull, but I think I'm just when I finally realized I had done it, I'd accomplished what we were trying to do. It was just an incredible feeling of number one, relief, of joy, satisfaction. My only regret that I felt right then was that I had not started bow hunting elk sooner. Because now I'm 74 and a half, and it's just being there in the camp with all that going on, helping people pack their bulls out, down at the skinning shed, the dinners we had. It's all the experience. It's not just killing a bull, but it's just being there with friends, and it's almost like family now. The way as much time as we spend together, I probably spend more time with you guys than I do my own family. Which, in my wife's case, she probably appreciates that.
She does, because she always calls me about mid-August. When y'all leaving?
Yeah, I'm ready for him to go. But that was my only regret, that I waited till I was 73 or whatever to do it for the first time.
Yeah,
it was something special.
It was a special episode. That was, quite honestly, that was my favorite hunt to watch from the whole last season. No offense, Jordan and Troy. I just like that one better.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Well, we had an incredible elk season, from everything we did in New Mexico to you and Brad in Arizona. All good hunts. We had great weather. We had some obstacles to overcome. It was real dry out there, which really moved the elk around, and I honestly didn't believe we would have elk where we anticipated them to be to get Jimmy inside of that part of the ranch.
Shoot, the first 3 or 4 or 5 days we were there, we were all thinking, this is going to be tough.
Yeah.
And then like a light switch.
Yeah, and they just started spreading out. They just doing everything. And we did go a little bit early this year, and we've always said the magic time in that part of the world is about the 13th. And it's been proven.
We were there 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah. That's what it is. People, when they watch this episode, like I said, they're going to watch 22 minutes.
Yeah.
There's however many hours there is in 14 days. We was there a long time.
Well, the quest starts on Wilbur's episode, which just aired. And then, because Wilbur kills his bull his first morning out, got lucky. And then we start hunting with Jimmy. So, Jimmy's there all 2 weeks with us, and it's pretty incredible to see some of the stuff that he saw. And my personal favorite, it's not him killing the bull, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's that spot and stalk that he did.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
To have somebody at his age to walk that far and get that close to that elk was a sure sign of stealth. But I've never seen an elk bed out there. And we walked up there that morning just to look at some elk, and just saw this one bull by himself, and we never really could tell much about him because he was 2.5 miles away. And he went in this little draw and never came out. And I said, well, heck, he's got to be there. So we made a loop, and man, we made that long walk, and Jimmy trekked, and we got right up there, 20 yards from him. But when he stood up, Jimmy couldn't get a shot at him. But
he took off running. But Lake was with me on that stalk, and
no, that was me and Jordan. Me and
Slade. Slade, yeah.
It was Slade. It was Slade. Slade was, Slade made that trip, and that made it even better having Slade there.
We had everybody there. Yeah,
and so it was. It was special because we don't get to hunt much with Slade anymore. We keep him in the office,
Well,
But
you're going back this year.
Yeah, gonna get to hunt. They got some fantastic antelope on this ranch, and I've never been able to hunt the antelope. So I'm going back hunting antelope. Be there while y'all are elk hunting to be a part of it again. So that's great. I'm excited.
Yeah. It's elk season will never not be a special time, that country and that time of year. It's just cool. But that was so cool.
Being from here in the South, we used to always look forward to dove season, and I still do, but I haven't dove hunted in forever. But now we don't get to dove hunt because we're always gone during dove season. So elk season has taken place of our dove season in all sense of reality. For me, it has, because it's what gets us going. It's the beginning of it all.
It's the kickoff.
Yeah.
But there's no that's what's funny about it is there's no ease into hunting season period. It's not like a slow climb. It's just boom, bugling elk.
Well, if you think about it, you and I just left that ranch May the 10th, 11th.
Yeah.
and we're going right back.
Yeah.
We turkey hunted there, so and here we go. And it seems like you just left when you get there because you really did.
Yeah, every time you get out there, it feels like it's not like a reacclimation. It's we're back. You know, just difference between.
The only time it's ever felt different to me was the year they had the big fire and the west side burned. It was you drove up there and it was like, this is different. It's not looking the same.
Yeah. Well, the time I showed up there, the first time I went there turkey hunting, it was snow everywhere.
That's
that
right.
that was different for me. Didn't have that same look, that New Mexico
It makes you think
high
it's
country
January.
look. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that ranch is a different place. And the Palome, I'd never hunted. I've been there, you know, I don't know how many years hunting elk, but I'd never hunted on the Palome, and that's a tough place to hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, old Volcano Mountain, and it's tough. It was tough.
It's worth it to get there, but it's no easy task to get there.
Yeah, well, just the part of the experience is driving into it. That's the roughest ride I've ever been on in my life.
That's why Slade and I got in that Polaris Range and let y'all take the truck.
Good Lord.
And
Good
beat
Lord.
the snot out of you.
Oh, yeah, you knocked the fillings out of your teeth.
Oh, man.
If you had to give somebody, Jimmy, at your age, even not your age, somebody going for the first time that's always wanted to go, just some advice, some quick advice.
Well, first thing I would have done different is, as much as I would have hated it, I would have got with Will and got him to tune my bow a little bit different, to give me some tips, watch my shooting, that sort of thing. And that would be what I would suggest most people, is get with somebody that has bow hunted elk and been successful before.
Yeah.
And somebody you consider more of a experienced hunter.
And
for
maybe
elk.
talk them through some scenarios of what could possibly happen, right?
Don't watch our elk videos because it just looks too darn easy the way we're doing it. Don't believe it. It's
Well, you know,
tough.
it's true, and you're right about that, because the simple fact of the matter is, much footage that we have that hits the cutting room floor, which I'm not complaining, because I would, as an editor, I would much rather have a pile of footage on the cutting room floor this big than to be sitting there going, boy, if I had 10 more seconds, it would make it work.
Yeah.
But in all reality, the month that we spend elk hunting, we could do a 13-week series of shows.
Oh, yeah.
Bar none, no doubt.
Yeah.
With 6 to 7 bulls that we kill every year, and counting the close calls encounters and whatnot, and to take all that footage and marry it down to 5 episodes, sometimes 6, like we did this year. That's a lot on the cutting room floor, and like Jimmy said, it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not, but it's part of the game.
You know, as elusive as a whitetail buck is, it's hard to hunt with a bow as a whitetail. An elk is probably 5 to 10 times harder to do.
Just different.
Yeah.
Being on the same plane with them, being on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, not hunting from a tree stand. You're right there, face to face with them, and usually close.
Yeah.
So,
it's different. It's fun, though.
it is.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Well, y'all have anything else to add before we wrap this one up?
I enjoyed it.
My favorite thing is the smell of that time of the year in that part of the world.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else you can go to get that smell.
I'm not sure if everyone else will agree with me here, but I like when we get out there and you go through somewhere where you can tell first you're like elk has been, and then the wind hits you right and you get the first smell of a bull elk.
That's what I'm talking about.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Musky urine smell.
I like it.
Can't beat it.
Yeah.
Even if
Yeah, I smell that around you sometimes, Blake.
took a page out of the elk book.
Well, we got it. What do we got? About a month and a half or 2 months before we be out there.
Yeah, did we ever decide on what day we leaving this year?
I don't think so.
Because Wilbur drew an Arizona tag this year. So he's going to be, you and he are leaving a little bit early again this year, like
Yeah.
you did last year with Brad, right?
My elk schedule is basically the same as it was last year. It's just replacing Wilbur instead of Brad.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna get there and have I think we'll have 6 days in New Mexico before we have to leave,
Oh, yeah.
something like that, and then we'll go down to Arizona and hunt, which I'm looking forward to. Which we we could do a whole episode when Brad's Arizona elk episode airs, because that was so wildly different than anything.
Really?
And when I knew it was very, very different was when Brad, who's been elk hunting way, way longer than me, said the same thing. He's like, "This is so different," but in a good way.
Yeah.
Obviously, in a good way. But yes. So yeah, when this podcast episode airs, it will be next Monday, and your television show about your elk hunt will be airing starting the next day. So
Tuesday afternoon.
Mm-hmm. So
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the comments, and I think everybody's going to be they're going to be cheering Jimmy on. And I can only imagine the amount of hunters, me being one of them, that's been in that situation like him. And there's a lot of people that do go. The thing about elk hunting is it's about like whitetail hunting big mature bucks. Sometimes you get one chance,
mm-hmm.
and that's all you get. And luckily, we were in an area where we could give Jimmy an opportunity, hopefully at a multiple chances if he needed it, and we did. But you're trying to beat them at their own game. I've always said this: they live there 365 days a year. We just visiting,
mm-hmm.
and it's hard to beat them. But that's the one time of the year that you can.
Yeah, when they're acting like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy with how that episode turned out. Yeah, Troy, you and Slade did a fantastic job on it, and I think it'll be perceived very well by everyone that watches it.
Yeah, it's the truth.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
All right, well, guys, we'll wrap this conversation up. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you have any questions or anything like that, as always, you can send them in to the Facebook page, the Instagram page. You can email them to the email, primoshuntingpodcast@gmail.com. And that's going to wrap us up. Thank you for listening to the Speak the Language podcast.